Hi, welcome to this tutorial for making a collecting game. This is a really good game to start with because it takes you through some of the very basics of Kodu. And for your students, if they're just getting started with it, it can start off very simple, but you can certainly elaborate it to become a bit more of a complicated game later on. But you can kind of use it as a teaching tool while still creating a game. And they've got something tangible to show at the end there. So I've just started a new empty world here. Remember, you can get to that from any Kodu file. If you open up the file, go to the house, and then you see the option of a new empty world there. So I'd always recommend that you get your students to do that first. Make sure they're in there. And the very first thing we're going to do is add a Kodu. So we'll click on our world and just add one in there. And I'm just going to change his color also to be, let's go black for this one. And we're going to program him. And in a minute, we're going to add some things for him to collect, and they're going to be apples on the screen. So we're going to say to him, this is going to be a kind of computer-controlled Kodu, and we're going to say to him that when he sees my apples, so when he sees, you've got the option to then go into Objects, where you'll see apples. We're going to make him go towards those apples, and it's going to end up being a bit of a collection race. Who can collect the apples first? So we'll say move. And then we want to tell him a little bit more information, move towards, we're going to say. So when he sees an apple, move towards it. On the next row, at the same time, we're going to have two sort of sets of instructions running. We're going to say to him, when he bumps into the apple, and again, it's important to say what you're bumping into. Often students forget to put that second apple in there, so they just put when you bump. And if you don't put the apple, you'll see what the next thing we're going to tell him to do is eat it. So without the apple, anything he bumps into will be eaten, including other characters. So that's a common mistake to look out for. So that's all we need to put in for now. When he sees the apple, he's going to move towards it. When he bumps the apple, he's going to eat it. So we better put some apples in next. So we're still on the Kodu tool. If we just click on an empty space, we can add other objects too. So let's put a couple of apples in. Let's put one over there. One here as well. Let's put one in each corner. And if we press play, he should look for the apples, and when he gets to them, eat them. And we'll just stop him there. So he'll keep doing that until he collects all the apples on the screen. So at the moment it's not a game, it's just a computer-controlled Kodu. So to turn it into more of a game, we're going to add a second Kodu that we can control. And just so it's easy to see the difference, let's make him another color. Let's go red for him. And again, we can right-click and program him. So for this one, we want to take control. We're going to use the keyboard to do that. So when the keyboard is used, and you need to say which part of the keyboard. Luckily, the arrow keys kind of work as a group, so Kodu understands that that means up, down, left, right, and will kind of fix those to those directions as well. You don't need to program every key individually. So when the keyboard arrows are pressed, let's tell it what to do. We're going to tell it to move quickly. And just like before, on our other character, when they bump the apples, which is an object, remember, we're also going to tell him to eat the apples. Let's press escape and escape again, and we should both be able to eat apples now. So he's after them, and so am I. And we got a couple each there. So that's the beginnings of a kind of collection game. We've got not much kind of competition going on yet. There's no kind of scoring system or anything like that. But that's the basics, and that's what they need to get done first. You'll notice I haven't changed my world at all yet. And I would encourage you to say the same thing to your students, really. You can spend a long time designing a lovely looking world, but then totally forget about the programming that goes behind it, and that is kind of the more important thing to get done first. Okay, I've taken things on a bit and added a few more apples to my game already. The next thing I want to do is put a kind of scorekeeping in, so we've actually got a competitive element and a way to win or indeed lose the game as well. So we're going to start off with our own character, the one that we control. That's my red Kodu, and return and program him again by right-clicking him. And under the instructions that we've already put in place there, on row 3 here, I'm going to drag this row across to the right there. So what that does is it means you don't need to put a when instruction in. The when becomes the row above it. So in this case, the when is when the apple is eaten. So I'm going to leave the when alone here, and just in the do section, we're going to put some blocks in that's going to give us a score every time we collect an apple there. So you'll see the option of game. There's lots of things in there to do with scoring and winning and that kind of thing. That will become 7. Subtract a point. I'm just going to stick to 1 for now. So when the apple is eaten, in this case, score 1 point. And we're going to. It's also need to tell it how many points to give us. So you've got the choices. So we can tell 1 and then jumps up to 5 and then jumps to 10, 20, 50. So back in if you want a value that isn't in there, such as 7, you can put in a 4 block and 3 block together. See colours, and I would recommend you choose the same colour as your character. So red in this case. So when we bump the apple, it's eaten, and it's going to give us 1 red point. On the next row, we're not going to push this one across. This is going to stay just where it is on the screen. We're going to say that when he gets a certain amount of points, that's going to be winning the game. Now, at this point, we need to just check how many apples we've got. So let's go back, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 apples. So to win the game, I obviously need to get the majority of those apples. 4 is a draw, 5 will be a winning margin, obviously. It might be better if we've got an odd number of apples in our game. Maybe we'll go back and add 1 more in a second. So we're going to say when I've scored a particular amount. So the first thing is when you've scored, and then you tell it how many. So 5 will be the winning margin in this case. And it's also, you need to remember the colour thing that we put in here. So we're going to say what colour points. So when 5 red points have been scored, what happens? We're going to say to it do, and we're going to go to the game category and say that that will equal a win. So some things we've got for this character are the keyboard arrows make him move quickly. If he bumps an apple, he eats it. We slid the row 3 across, so the when is the row above it, remember? So when we eat the apple, we score 1 red point. And then finally on the next row down, when 5 points have been scored, 5 red points, that equals a win. So I'll just add 1 more apple before we carry on. And you can drag those and position them wherever you like. And if we just play the game now, you'll see up in the top right there is a score for my character. The computer hasn't got one yet, and you can also see as I'm collecting apples there, it's given me a point. So I'm on 2 points, 3. And if I'd have got to 5, it would have declared me a winner, but I wasn't fast enough. So let's go back and do a similar thing for the computer character now. And we'll program him. And it's very, very similar. Again, on the row 3, we're going to click it and then slide it across to the right. Again, we can leave out the when. And we're just going to say, just like before, we're going to add score, we're going to add 1 point, and this time it's going to be a black point. Below that, again, we need to tell the computer what's the kind of winning margin or losing margin in this case. So when 5 black points have been scored, that's going to make the game end. Because that's the computer opponent, if we put win there, it will declare us both the winners, and it'll be hard to tell who's won the game. So it isn't a win, it's a lose for us. So it's all about referring to the person who's playing. So end on the computer character, win on your own character. And we'll go back in and see if one of us wins this time. Press escape and play. And he got there first, so it says game over now, you can see. Now if I'd got there first, you'd see winner flash up at that point. Okay, then we'll go back in. Now things were going a little slow and frustrating. My characters weren't moving that quick, even though we'd put in that quickly block earlier. So if you do want to speed things up even more, if you go to right click and change their settings, you'll see these top 4 options in the menu are all to do with speed and how fast they turn and that kind of thing. So this one says forward speed multiplier, we can take that up to 3 maybe. Turning speed multiplier, take that one up a bit to 3 as well. Forward acceleration multiplier, maybe put that about halfway. And the same for this turning acceleration multiplier. And my red character now should move a lot faster. So fast he's bouncing off walls, but you can see